computer. What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Mental Health Movement Podcast, Voice for the Voiceless. I'm your host, Chris. Today we have a returning guest, George, who was on our last podcast when we did it on music. George, how's it going, man?
Good, man. How you been?
Not too bad. Just working on the podcast, therapy, start a vacation. So today's podcast, we are going to be talking about the celebration of life. Basically, we're going to just break down birthdays and mental health and how people struggle with getting older. Getting older is inevitable. Obviously, we all are here on borrowed time. And that brings me to the second part of this podcast, which is basically going to be a tribute to our loved ones, which, it's we're going to be talking a little bit about our brother that we lost, whose 1 year anniversary is coming up on the 11th. We're going to be talking about kind of a little bit about loss as well. Before we get started on today's content, the month of August, there are a couple mental health things that I did find on here. First one being Friendship Day, which is tomorrow. So, hey, what better way to have a podcast than having somebody you consider a really good friend. So, George, like I said last podcast, I appreciate you doing this.
Always, man.
And then, of course, we have the National Healthcare Week, which goes from August 8th to the 12th. Basically, that's just the healthcare system trying to find better ways to help people. And obviously, as you and I both know, George, the mental health community and the resources, it's a lot. And it's, obviously we're moving in the right direction, but we still got so much further to go. So let's get started with today's podcast, man. First thing I kind of want to bring up is birthday depression. It's something that I'm sure society is aware of. I don't think we call it birthday depression whenever our birthdays come up and we're just feeling some type of way, but it's a very real thing. And I just celebrated my 30th birthday on the 4th, and I am not going to lie when I said I had anxiety. You don't know what's going to happen when you turn a certain age. You don't know how you're going to feel after you turn older.
Mm-hmm.
And, some of those causes and reasons, depression and anxiety, like I said, depression is not something that goes away. It's something that's either develops as you get older or you inherit it from your parents and so on and so forth. And then, of course, the fear of getting old, which I kind of talked about. What we're going to talk about a little bit more of why that's such a big thing. And an interesting one is trauma from their childhood. Maybe birthdays are a really big trigger for somebody. Maybe somebody close to them passed away, or that's the day your parents got divorced, heaven forbid. But, it's something that a lot of people that I've noticed, oh, it's just another year. I'm turning 19, I'm turning 35, whatever. And it's disheartening for somebody like me because I like to celebrate every single year. You're blessed with a new chapter. You're blessed with turning older, and obviously, as you and I have experienced, not everybody has the opportunity to get older.
Mm-hmm.
We have lost friends before their birthdays, on their birthdays. It happens. And I don't want to tell people, oh, well, celebrate your birthday. I'm not telling you, I'm not forcing you to celebrate your birthday. You know what I mean? But
yeah,
I kind of feel like society as a whole just kind of looks at the birthdays. Oh, it's just another day. I got to work that day, so I don't really give a shit. So before we kind of get into like the symptoms of like birthday depression, how do you look at birthdays? Like, do you treat it as another day, or is it something that you genuinely try to enjoy every year?
I think I really did try when I was younger. I think birthdays were a big deal,
Right.
but you have more family around, all that stuff. As you get older, you move out, you got your own family, like, me, and then, things just kind of go on. You got work, all that stuff. So like Christina's huge on birthdays. I mean, like for the kids, for me, like when it's her birthday, I try to go a little bit more out because she takes it seriously. So like me personally, I just kind of I enjoy it. I'll go out to dinner, taking out to dinner. I like being around the kids, obviously, and opening like the little things that they make me. That's like this. You can't really see it, but that's a picture Gio drew me last year for my birthday. So like little stuff like that. That's what I like.
Yeah.
Christina she likes to make it extravagant. Like I'll wake up in the morning and she'll lay down with me the night before, and then she'll get up when I fall asleep, and the whole fucking house will be decorated. You know what I'm saying? So like, but she does it for all the kids, and it's
Right.
it's a special thing. So like in our house, birthdays are a huge celebration. We try to make it as good as we can.
Yeah. And I think it's important to also note, with the family thing, I'm sure celebrating your kids' birthdays is like a genuine, like makes you happy seeing them uh get open a gift that they've been wanting for all year, that they've been
Oh yeah,
talking about, and surprising them with something they had no idea about. I mean,
yeah,
it's
and
it's like a second Christmas.
oh yeah, the kids now though, like what we're trying to do now more is, which is the reason I just went to Disney with Christine and the kids and all that, is like that was for Gio's birthday, and we asked him like, we can get you something small and take you to Disney, or we could just get you gifts. So what do you want to do? So, we did little stuff. We got him stuff, and all the kids while we were there also, little stuff at Disney and all this stuff. But the big trip was literally the whole family. Like the only one that wasn't able to make it was my mother. But my dad went, his fiance, Christina's parents were down there. All the girls were down there. Like Christina's sister, the nephew, like the niece. It was just one giant group.
Right.
So it was, that it's more memorable, I think, for them to be like, oh, remember when we went to Disney and everybody was there? So that's what we're trying to do now, is more stuff like that.
You mentioned something right before when you said you asked Gio like
Mhm.
what he wanted for his birthday. I find that as a really good parenting style to do something like that, because I remember growing up as a kid, whether it's Christmas, whether it was birthdays, we weren't really asked what we wanted. Of course, you got to keep the big thing on Christmas alive,
Mhm.
and you gotta keep that element of surprise. But I remember just opening boxes of clothes, like
Yeah, bro.
socks and
Well,
shirts that I would never be seen wearing. You know
you
what I
gotta
mean?
think too, like as much as like we pay attention to like my kids and all that stuff,
Yeah,
there's still times, bro, when like they'll be watching stuff and be like, I love this. And I'm like, when did you start liking that? So like their likes change so
yeah,
much, bro. So like I could ask them right now, like, what do they want for Christmas? Like start thinking of stuff you want for Christmas, but a game or a drone or like some type of toy is gonna come out next week and
right,
everything's gonna go out the window.
yeah.
So
It
so
kind of
like
reminds me. It kind of reminds me of that movie Click, when he hits fast forward and his kids were watching Dragon Tales, but I guess he fast forward too far and they're watching like CSI or something like that. He's like, I missed the whole thing of Dragon Tales. it's it's always interesting to see kids' interests change so quickly,
mhm.
and in a blink of an eye, especially with technology, man. Like obviously when we were growing up, technology was being introduced. Like we had the Game Boy Color and all that stuff, but like we still went outside and we kept our interest pretty much the same for most of our childhood.
Yeah.
And when technology started evolving, we either became so isolated in that technology and less about, what our friends have, and just more about our parents buying us the newest console or whatever it was. And I like I said, it's interesting that you asked Gio what he wanted, because shit, my parents would have never asked me as a kid what I wanted for my birthday. It was just more like you said, you're kind of paying attention to what they're watching, and then all of a sudden it's like, well, I bought this and he's already on to something else.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? Um, so I kind of wrote down like the symptoms of birthday depression, some of which we kind of covered, basically what the causes of birthday depression are, but of course there's symptoms to it. There's the changes in mood, which I think that's pretty common. Whether you're feeling really sad that you're turning 50 years old or something, or you're just stressed out about turning a certain age. I know the stress thing is a very real thing getting older,
Mhm.
because it's just like, wow, my 20s are dead now, and it's like, shit, I'm in my 30s now. It's crazy. Time goes by so fast.
I don't think people realize that, bro.
Yeah, like every time I think of like high school or my time in Publix, like none of that seems like a real part of my life.
Oh, that's the perfect way to describe that. Like it doesn't seem like, bro, I try to think of stuff sometimes and I'm like, bro, like that doesn't seem like it actually happened
Yeah,
because it was like so long ago, but it doesn't feel like long ago, but it is so long ago. And you don't realize that 10 years went by like that, bro.
right.
It's insane. It's just crazy.
Especially with this pandemic too, man. Like the pandemic alone, I think completely like wiped my brain of any concept of time. Like I
Hmm.
remember there was this girl Lauren that I talked to when I came back to Florida. Her daughter was like 2 years old, and then fast forward to like towards the end of the pandemic, I'm like, "How's the baby?" Oh well, she's not a baby anymore. I'm like, "Oh my god, it's like been like 5 years."
Yeah, she's like
That,
five now, 6 years.
and I was just like, "Damn, zero concept of time." I'll be having conversations with people that I was continuing from like 3 years ago. Wait,
Yeah.
how's so and so? I don't talk to them anymore. What? What do you mean?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And going with birthdays, man, like I remember my 21st birthday. I don't remember anything before my 21st birthday. Like back to the time thing.
Hmm.
I don't remember turning 18. I don't remember none of that.
Yeah.
And I don't remember any of my 20s at all, which is crazy to think about now because I was just 29, and 29 is like, obviously the edge of turning a new decade. And yeah, man, it's crazy to think about just how fast everything goes, and then that stress builds and builds. And when it's finally your day, it's like, yeah, wow, I'm turning 30 years old today. That's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Um, they put down crying as a symptom for depression. I feel like I don't think I've ever met anybody who's gotten that upset about birthdays. I'm trying to think of like an instance of somebody crying because it's their birthday.
I think Christina cried when she turned 30. Sorry, babe, if you're watching this, but I'm pretty sure she cried when she turned 30.
Yeah, okay. I mean, I guess if you're like emotionally like really high up there, it makes sense.
Hmm.
So I guess reading it back now that you put it that way, um, I guess I can kind of see that.
I don't think for her though it was like a depression. I think it was more just like a I'm not 20. There's not a two in front of my number. No, you know,
Right.
she's been turning 25 for 6 years now. So I'm
Right.
just, yeah.
Just put on your driver's license. I'm 21. You're 35. 21. Okay, you're 21. Whatever you say.
He's like, I don't even argue no more. I'm like, oh, yeah, she's 25.
And then of course they put down the no energy or motivation thing. That I definitely have felt before a birthday when you don't feel like anybody has any plans to celebrate your birthday, or just like you take off a vacation and you're not sure what you're going to do. You just took off because you wanted it off.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like that no energy and motivation comes into play uh, when you're basically a loner, when you don't really have family. Obviously being single is another factor in there too. No motivation and or no energy. It's just like, yeah, and that I guess plays into the it's just another day mentality.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess that kind of makes sense with the no energy motivation. There's an interesting one on here, and we talked about this before the podcast, and genuinely made me laugh only because it reminded me of a movie. But ruminating on the past and goals not being accomplished, like not getting married or having kids. I've talked to my sister about this conversation where she feels like she's behind.
Mm-hmm.
Um, she feels like she's not accomplishing anything because she's 22 years old, and she has people her age that have kids or are married and stuff. And I guess I want to ask you from a guy's perspective: have you ever felt like you didn't accomplish something by a certain age and it kind of got in your head about it?
Yeah, I actually still sometimes, but I don't let it get to me. Like I'll catch myself because so like not to get on the subject of social because we can drift off into this, but let's not. But social media can literally warp your minds.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? Like
absolutely.
it's false. It's it's a painting. You know what I'm saying? It's not real. So like you look at some of these people who are our age, younger than us, down to like 20 years old who are buying houses, already owning houses, who got the nice cars, who got this, who got that. You know what I'm saying? Like who look like they're living this extravagant lifestyle. But at the end of the day, we don't know what's going on. So like y'all catch myself and I'll be like, damn, bro, like I just turned 30 and like I don't own a house yet. I don't, you know what I'm saying? Like I don't have this yet or anything like that. But then I'm like, well, wait a minute, you know what I'm saying? Like I got three healthy kids, I got a nice car. Well, it's an apartment, it's a nice apartment, you know what I'm saying? Like I got a nice apartment. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not like we're struggling or anything like that. So it's like, is a house like a necessity? You know what I'm saying? Like it would be nice to own a house, but I'm not stressing over it. You know what I'm saying? So like I literally have to sit back sometimes, and Christina will say like she'll even be like, all right, calm down, like look at what you got.
Right.
So it's like a reality check. I'm like, you know what? Yeah, you know what? Fuck that guy. If I get lucky enough one day, I'll hit the lottery or I'll become really successful and I'll have all that. You know what I'm saying? But for right now, I'm good.
It's interesting that you brought up the social media thing, because that's actually, like you said, we can go the rabbit hole on that all day.
Yeah.
But obviously, we don't want to.
No.
But it's very interesting, because in high school, that was a really big thing for me, seeing
Mhm.
all those kids pull into Mitchell High School with a brand new Mustang, and my ass is still taking the bus.
Yeah.
And fast forward to these guys and girls that are like 23, 25, they're married, they have kids, they have a house, this and that, and a lot of them are well off.
Hmm.
I used to do this to myself so damn much, where I felt like I was so behind everybody. Like,
Hmm.
I don't have a house, I don't have kids, I don't have a wife. And then I stopped myself, like you said, it's a great balance to
Hmm.
stop yourself and look at what you have. Look at what you've done. 2 years ago, I was still living at my dad's house because I moved from Jersey. I didn't know what the hell I was doing with my life. Now look at me. I
Hmm.
have an apartment of my own. I pay my own bills. I don't lean on nobody. I don't have any responsibilities outside of my own.
Yeah.
And I'm content. And a lot of people can't even say they're content. They have this house, they have these kids. Kids are a great part of our life.
Yeah.
I know people who have too many kids. Don't take that the wrong way for
No,
anybody
I trust me, I know what you're saying.
that have too many kids and are miserable because of it.
Yeah.
And obviously, you can't plan for parenthood. You
Hmm.
can't plan for having kids and being financially well off, because you don't know what that kid is going to bring financially.
Hmm.
I have an aunt and uncle whose child was born with medical issues, and again, they were in their 40s, late 40s when they had a kid. You can plan out your life, you can go to college and do all those things, and then when that kid's born, it shifts your life. I'm not saying don't have kids. I'm just saying make sure you're happy with yourself, so you're not bleeding onto your kids.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Like, do you think I'm
Uh,
wording that right?
no, 100%. And I was like that also. I feel like because I had Trey when I was 20,
Yeah.
and I had Gio when I was 22, and then Valentina when I was 27. So like Valentina she got like the older version of me. So, still me, but a little bit more calm
Right.
and a little bit more self aware.
Yeah.
As where Trey and Gio, like, I still get upset sometimes because I feel like at myself, because I feel like the younger me didn't give them the attention and all that they needed. You know what I'm saying? So I do feel like when you're, and as far as like the kids and all that stuff, I feel like you should be at least as prepared as you can be.
I feel like, if having kids is something that you've talked about with somebody, or you're going to have kids with your partner or whatever. I feel if you're mentally okay, like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not even talking about financial, like, mental health is something I'm very big on. And both of my parents were 100% mentally not fit to be parents.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they've gotten a little bit better. I can't say the same about my mom. My dad's gotten a little bit better now that he's older, but I just, there's so many bad habits and so many toxic cycles that I've had to break throughout my life. And, you know, looking at ruminating on goals you didn't accomplish, yeah, you might be 35 and don't have kids and you're not married and you don't have a house. And like you said, you gotta find that balance in your life and be grateful for what you have,
Hmm.
because I feel that's something so many people struggle to do, is be grateful.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing wrong with wanting more. There's
No.
nothing wrong with wanting to accomplish more in your life. But
No.
if you're
And,
not happy with the foundation,
mhm.
why would you stack more on that foundation?
Yeah. And like recently, so I don't want to say no one's name, but not recently, but I've heard a lot more people saying that they don't want kids. And I've also heard people saying that that's like a selfish thing to say, but I'm like, that's probably the least selfish thing you could say
Right.
is like admitting that you don't want kids, because why would you bring a child into the world after saying like I don't want kids?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like then you're not having to, like you said, like put negativity on the child, or blaming something on a child, or them growing up and be like, well, I didn't want you, or like I wasn't prepared for, you know what I'm saying? So like I feel like that is the least selfish thing you could actually say, is when people are like, oh, I'm okay with not having kids.
Yeah.
But I feel like some people are like, oh, how could you not want to have kids? You know what I'm saying? I don't know.
And it kind of like influences that mentality of like the older generation mainly, like, oh, you guys have been together 20, 30 years, why don't you have kids? Or when are you having kids? When are you getting married? And again, it spews on the unaccomplished goals in the back of your mind chirping.
Hmm.
Like, damn, I'm 32 years old and I don't have kids yet. Am I doing something wrong? And again, when your birthday comes, it's something that chirps very loud in the back
Hmm.
of, probably about all of us. You know, I wouldn't even say there's anybody really exempt from feeling like that.
Hmm.
You know, I talked to my dad, who's he's turning 52 this year, and just hearing some of the things he's saying now, it's weird to hear him talk about, because he's never been like emotionally all there for any of us.
Yeah.
And now that he's gotten older, he's starting to see like, man, I want to leave something behind for you guys. And the whole time growing up, it was more about, him wanting to be in a relationship or whatever. And as he got older, he wanted to kind of keep that stability for us. um and I think that's one of the most important parts about your inner peace is stability. And you know, if you have stability, you're a lot further in your life than a lot of other people.
Yeah.
And just
It
because you
also,
don't have a house doesn't mean anything.
yeah, I think that also pushes you to do more and
Right.
further stability, because
Yeah.
you have that backbone holding you up.
Right. And if you leave behind a legacy for your kids, and they can honestly use whatever lessons you taught them to pass on to the next generation or whatever, you've accomplished a shit ton. Because
Hmm.
our parents growing up didn't really know the right things to say to their kids, didn't know the I don't think there's a right or wrong way to raise a kid, but
Oh,
I huh
there's a wrong way.
well, you get what I mean. Like there's no handbook for being a parent
Nah.
is basically what I'm saying. um but if you can lay down that legacy for a future generation, you're accomplishing a hell of a lot there.
Mm.
So I think it's important to just stop, be grateful, and just keep building on the foundation that you have.
Hmm.
And of course, it's okay to strive for more.
Yeah.
Um, Changes in sleep and appetite is a really big one, I think, for people that have high stress, especially before a birthday.
Mm.
I think the day that I turned 30, I only slept for 45 minutes.
Yeah. I remember
Um,
I called you and you said that.
yeah, and it's it was one of those things that I wasn't worried about turning 30. It was more or less I was worried about my birthday being a mess for some reason or something going wrong.
Hmm.
And I think that just goes back to like childhood trauma, you know. Um, and disinterest in birthdays is another symptom, and then isolation is a really big one. Um, Again, I want to turn this one on you. Have you ever had a birthday that you just wanted to be left alone? Like you didn't want to celebrate with anybody, didn't want to see family. Like I know you're big on family,
Yeah.
but like, have you ever felt like you didn't want to be around anybody for your birthday?
Uh, actually, last year was probably the only birthday I ever really felt like that.
And was that because of the pandemic, or was that just because of just things going on around your birthday?
Yeah, that was just things going on in my life at that time
Right.
where it was just like, I don't even want to deal with this today. I don't want to deal with anybody. Just go to work and that's it.
Yeah. Um. So the last question I had for you on the symptoms part of it is when your birthday comes around every year, do you struggle with the thought of getting older, um, or feeling behind at all? I we kind of talked about that a little bit. I kind of incorporated that with the ruminating question. Um, do you what's the word I want to use here? Do you struggle with the thought of being older? Like, do you think that whatever age you are now, like, feels different in a negative sense at all? I guess is how I want to word that.
Uh, I don't think now, because I don't think, when you're young, you think like 30, like, wow, you're old.
Yeah.
But I don't like, it's so funny because like I'll do stuff now and like I'll be like I just did, I stretch my back and like I'll do stuff and I'll be like, oh, like, and Christina's like, you're 30. And I'm like, damn, bro. Like this isn't it. This isn't it. And like I'll still try to do stuff that when like I was younger, bro. Like even 3, 4 years ago.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That I do now. And I'm like, all right, I was playing a virtual reality game the other day at my friend's house. It was a boxing game, but it's like the real one. Like you actually have to fight and all this stuff. Bro, it was only 3 rounds, 5 minutes each. At the end of the second round, I was like, like at the end of the third round, I was just throwing punches like this. I was like, just go down. And like I genuinely like it, but on the way home, in my mind, like we were laughing and shit. I'm like, bro, I used to play ball from sun up to sun down, running back and forth all day long, and now I can't play a boxing game, bro. Like,
It's
but
not even a real boxing game.
so in the sense of that, like, but I think that is just me, like, over the last couple of years, also just doing nothing really but working, coming
Yeah.
home and doing what I have to do, and not really so much quote unquote like taking care of myself.
Right.
But as far as getting old, like, or getting older, I don't think it's hit me yet because I don't think I'm at the age yet where it really like bothers me that I'm that
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm because I'm still we're still young. We're only 30.
Yeah.
And I do think though, like I think that getting old just bothers me because if I get old, that means my kids are getting older.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Like in my sense, and like I still like Trey's 10, but he's tall. You know what I'm saying? So like I go to hug him and like his head is like at my chest now, and I'm like,
Every time I see a picture of that kid, I'm like, bro,
yeah.
there's no
And
way he's only 10.
oh yeah, and then like Gio or Valentina, like she's 3, but there's like she's extremely intelligent. So like there's like even my dad is like I could have full blown like I could talk I could sit down and talk to Valentina about anything, bro. Like anything. I could be like, oh, babe, can you do this or this? And then, like she'll actually have a full blown conversation. And like I look at her and I'm like, I don't want you to grow up. Like I just want you to stay 3. like like I want to stay 30 and I want you to stay 3 so I can just love you forever, like hug you forever. But you know what I'm saying? So like that makes me sad, but it makes me happy at the same time. So like I don't know.
It's an internal battle.
It really is like
Sounds like.
it's like literally it's like a 50-50. Like you're good and then you're like, like there's the goods and then there's like the upsetting parts, but it's overall I think it's more of like a good thing.
It's funny that you bring up the physicality part of it, because like obviously when we were in our like early 20s we could stay up to like 5 a.m.
You
and be
know?
fine. Dude, now I can't stay up past like 11 sometimes.
Oh well, shit. Oh, I'm up at freaking 4:30, 5 o'clock every day. But some of these people are like, "Yo, let's play Warzone at 9," and I'm like, 9. I'm like, bro, no way.
8:30 is pushing it.
Yeah, I'm done. Dude, in the summertime, the sun's still up. I'm like, I'm going to bed right now.
Right. my one of my best friends, Roger, he's like 52, I think,
Mhm.
and he goes to bed at like 7:30.
Like my father. Yep.
Yeah, and I asked him, I'm like, bro, how the hell do you go to sleep that late, that early? And whenever he tells me he sleeps in, I'm like, bro, you didn't sleep in. Come on. What time did you wake up this morning? 8:15. He's like, oh no, I woke up at 8. I'm like, that's not sleeping in.
Yeah, bro. Oh my god. So first of all, my dad's asleep every day by like 7, and
Right.
he's up every day. Doesn't matter. No time of week, no alarm, nothing by like 4:30 every single day. So if that
Crazy.
man sleeps past 6, something's going on. Me, I woke up. I woke up this morning. It was like 7:30, and I'm like, all right, that's cool. Like I'm just getting up. But that's like my normal wake up time is like 7:30 because I'm just so wired at waking up at so early
Yeah.
that like sleeping into me is literally like 7:30, 8 o'clock.
Right.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's
it's
before
it's
I go to sleep.
definitely it's one of those things where your mind's playing tricks on you, obviously no pun towards the Ghetto Boys song, of course, but your mind really does mess with you, bro. Like uh the getting older mentality, it's like you said, just standing up, it's like, oh, my back, bro, you're only 30, you shouldn't have back problems, you know what I mean? And I going for a bike ride for like 45 minutes or an hour, of course, with this Florida heat. But
Mhm.
you go for a bike ride, it feels like you've been bike riding for like a day. It's
Bro,
like, bro,
yes.
I am 30. This is not okay.
No, it's not. It's really not. I don't
And
want this no more.
it's that technology has destroyed us.
Hmm.
And I don't think technology is 100% a terrible thing, but it's something that has groomed us to just like be comfortable doing nothing.
And I'm big. Oh, listen. I feel like technology is the downfall to my capabilities of going out and playing a full game of basketball because like I go out and I'm like, oh, it's hot. I'm gonna go sit in front of the computer for like 3 hours and instead
Right?
like,
Like instead of going to the gym, just download a basketball app on your phone. Oh,
yeah,
this will do.
I'll just play NBA 2K for a little bit instead.
Right. So let's talk about the different coping tools for birthday depression.
Mhm.
Allowing your emotions to arise. I feel this is important for like every aspect of depression, not just when it's your birthday, but holiday depression.
Mhm.
If you allow yourself to feel what you're feeling, you're eventually going to be okay.
Yeah.
You let yourself cry. Like, I for the longest time always held back tears just because that stigma around men's mental health where like, oh, if you cry, you're a pussy, or don't show emotion because you're a man, be a man.
Mhm.
And when we come across something like loss or something that genuinely upsets you and you finally let yourself go and you don't stop, if you can allow yourself to feel that stress, to feel that anxiety or just overwhelming feeling of getting older, I feel each year that comes along gets easier for you to celebrate, gets easier for you to be grateful that you're turning a new age.
Mhm.
How do you feel about the emotional part of coping? Like, do you feel that important to let yourself feel?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Because I was the same way as you. Like I didn't want to ever show emotion. My
Yeah,
emotion was always anger.
yeah, I
Like
remember.
in
Yeah,
high school, my emotion, like it didn't matter what it was, it just went to anger.
right.
So, but I don't think that was what I like. It wasn't what I wanted, what I meant to be. That was just me holding everything back
Yeah,
and then just letting it out. No matter like what anything that little triggered me, like all the emotion that was in me just came out. So sometimes it didn't go good most of the
isn't
time,
it
but
isn't it strange to talk about the things that trigger us being older now? Because we used to joke
mhm,
about triggers. We used
yeah.
to joke about, somebody's triggered over this or whatever. But when you really start to notice that you have triggers, that
Mhm.
you have things that set you off, it's I don't want to say it's a special feeling to be able to identify those, but it kind of goes along with the uh, self awareness.
Yeah.
Being aware of things that piss you off. Things that could affect you during your birthday. It's just like, I can joke around now about a lot of things that used to bother me. Like, obviously, you guys were hecklers to me when you were still down here with
Yeah,
Santi and Javi, and it was really hard for me to take that heckling because I grew up getting tortured
yeah,
by people. You know, that includes parents.
yeah.
And it was really hard for me to not take
Differentiate.
everything as a joke.
Yeah, like differentiate, but that's why, like, not to. That's why we would always say, like, "Oh, like we're just kidding." Like, we genuinely meant it, and we still, like, you know us now, obviously, because obviously we've been friends for friggin' 15 plus years. But that's like, I feel like it's not just with our group of friends. That's what, like, all my group of friends.
Yeah.
Like, you could look through all my group chats, like my messages and all that stuff. If we're not like just destroying each other, and, like, but we know the line. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
Like, we
right.
know, like, all right, let's not joke about that. Or
Right.
you know what I'm saying? Like, we know the line, but we just, like, we rip each other apart sometimes, bro. And it's like, you know, if I don't like you, if I just have a bland conversation with you,
Yeah.
or if I don't know you, I'll just have, like, I'll know, like, all right, I don't know this person. Let me not be myself right now. Let me,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Or, oh, it's him. Let me just say hello, goodbye type stuff.
Yeah. And
Like,
that kind of it blends into like letting yourself feel everything.
yeah.
Like if you don't feel the energy around you, if you don't like conversations with you, for instance,
Hmm.
if we like blocked each other off and like any conversation you and I have had in the last 6 7 years,
Hmm.
obviously you and I as human beings have grown mentally, and we know the threshold of the emotions of things that we talk about,
Yeah.
and allowing yourself to like feel everything that's going on in front of you, whether that's joking around, whether that's depression, loss, whatever it is. If you don't allow yourself to feel, that's when things just become so much harder and you just like you're numb all the time,
Hmm.
right? And when it comes to like birthdays, I know so many people in my circle or used to be in my circle that were just always angry on their birthday, always
Hmm.
bitter, or just always, oh, it's just another birthday. I don't give a shit about my birthday, whatever. Nobody cares. I used to be like that. I used to be like that during holidays.
Yeah.
And then it slowly my emotional awareness and intelligence started coming together full circle, and you start feeling everything that you're meant to feel as a person. And like you said, you you resulted to anger for all that time,
Hmm.
and then you finally, I'm assuming you finally started letting yourself feel everything that you were feeling.
Well, I still, Christina could attest to this. I still struggle with, like, my snappiness of, like my biggest thing is how I talk. I don't realize how I talk to people
Yeah.
sometimes. I don't feel like I'm doing it. And it doesn't, like, when I say stuff, I'm not hearing myself say it in a manner that is like aggressive or being like sarcastic or something like that. But Christina sometimes like, whoa, check yourself real quick.
Yeah.
And even some, like, recently, actually a lot more recently than ever, I'll like stop myself literally in the middle of a sentence and be like, all right, I'm sorry. Because I'll catch myself doing it, or I'll catch myself like being angry or something like that, or it's not you. I don't mean to take it out on you, not just her, like, in whatever sense. But I still struggle with the snappiness and the getting angry at certain things. So, like, I'll feel myself getting angry, or I'll
Right.
feel myself getting annoyed with stuff, and I'm like, I'll 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 notice it.
Yeah, like that self-awareness like
Yeah,
clicks.
yeah, like, it'll click in me, and I'm like, all right, you know what? Don't let it bother you. And I'll either not pay attention, or I'll do something else, or I'll just think of something else to try to get my mind off of it. But I don't think it ever truly goes away.
Mhm.
Like you said on the other subject, I think it's just something that you learn to live with,
Yeah.
or you learn to control and learn what your triggers and
It's that
your
growth, man. It's that
yeah.
growth.
But I'm the first to admit I struggle with that all the time.
Yeah.
It's hard, and I tell Christina that it's hard to go from one way to just trying to not be like that. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Because even if I didn't want to be upset or pissed off or angry or snappy, it was just how I felt.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So like getting myself to just be like, I'm done with that. You're gonna have setbacks.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? As long as you acknowledge it and tell yourself, all right, look, that's not how I want to be, and you keep working towards it. That's the best. That's literally all you can do. It's the best you could do.
Bro, accountability and awareness go so damn far, just in like every aspect of being a human being. And a lot of people just don't have the ability to accept accountability for what they say to people. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I'm not one to want to walk on eggshells, but like you said, you catch yourself in how you word things.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when you're able to have that awareness, you know, you're already a million steps ahead of people who don't watch what they say or don't care what they say to people.
Hey, everyone knows, bro.
Yeah,
I say what I want.
right.
I not what I. Let me rephrase that. I don't say what I want. I say how I feel.
Yeah,
But it's a matter of knowing who and how you can say that thing to. You know what I'm saying? Like I know I can tell you how I feel and I can word it however I want and you're gonna understand me.
yeah,
You're not gonna take offense to it. You're not gonna be upset about it. You're gonna understand.
yeah,
There's certain people I have to like say what I mean, but in a different way.
right.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And, you know, there's another coping mechanism is, you know, practicing awareness, which we touched on, self-compassion and self-love.
Mm-hmm.
So the self-love thing I wrote on there when I saw the self-compassion, because I feel a lot of people struggle with treating themselves. You know, when you have kids, it's hard to make time for yourself. It's hard to do things for yourself. And, you know, or you could be one of those people who work 80 hours a week and just don't have time to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel this is one of the most important coping mechanisms for everything is self-love and self-compassion. Compassion is something I've personally I feel like the world is missing right now is compassion.
Mm-hmm.
And you throw in self-love, shit. If there was enough self-love in the world, man, can you imagine the peace
Huh?
that we can have in this world is if people could just love themselves
Yeah.
and not spew their trauma, their anger, you know, whatever it is onto other people. You know, I've had traumatic experiences. I've had a childhood I wouldn't wish on anybody. And, you know, I don't make it a measuring contest at how my trauma is compared to your trauma or anybody else's trauma.
Yeah.
But I've also taught myself to not dump my emotions onto other people because I've been through said trauma.
Yeah.
And if you can sit there and say that you love yourself and mean it, that's the most important part is meaning it.
Mm-hmm.
I feel when that birthday comes around, you can be at peace with turning X years old. You can be at peace with just a new chapter in your life instead of just kind of going off the numb comment saying it's just another year. You know what I mean? And I feel very strongly about taking care of yourself and putting yourself first once
Mm-hmm.
in a while. And as you're a father, I'm sure putting yourself first is really hard
I'm gonna.
because
I don't mean to cut you off.
yeah, go ahead.
Uh, I all right. So this is kind of going to lead into the second part of this podcast. But Santi actually changed my mind about that whole thing that you just said, and I swear to God, it resonates with me. I think about it all the time because he pulled me aside one day. It was me, him, and I want to say it was Edwin. Um, we were talking about something. It was like he had just left church, something like that, and we were sitting there talking about it. And he was like, "What do you think's more important? More important, like you being happy or your child's happiness?" And I instantly I was like, "My child's happiness, 100%. Like I would do anything for my child's happiness." And he goes, "What if you're not happy?" And I'm like, "Well, I don't know. Like I don't care if I'm not happy because I want them to be happy. Like I'd rather struggle but not show them. I'd rather them have everything." He's like, "Nah." He goes, "You have to be happy before they can be happy." You know what I'm saying? And then he went into like this whole spiel of just like, if you're upset, you're not going to realize it, but you might take it out on the kids. If you're stressed, you might not realize it, but you might take it out on the kids. If you're this, if you're that, like everything that you have is going to have an impact on them. So if you're happy, it's going to resonate onto them. But if you're not happy, or if you're struggling, if you're upset, you could try to hide it, but it's going to show. So like that, I feel like, I swear to God, bro, I think about that all the time, because like if I get upset or I get stressed or like I get upset with the kids and all this shit, I'm like, but then he's, like he said, you have your number one job is to be a parent. You can't let the kids do whatever they want. And I feel like that's the biggest problem with our generation. He was saying is like these parents want to be friends before they're parents, and that's why these kids are running all over them. He's like, you have to be happy, so you have to tell your kids sometimes like, no, you know what I'm saying, like you can't do this or you can't do that, and you know what I'm saying, like it all just kind of ties together. But that I feel like you have to be happy before everything.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
Dude, I swear to God, like, he always had the best possible way to word everything for it, like to click.
Yes, he did.
Like everything him and I ever talked about, every piece of advice that we shared.
Yeah, he did. I tell everyone all the time, like we were the same. I think I was a little bit older than him actually, but I look up to him. I've like, you know what I'm saying? Like you have those people where like you look up to people like, oh, who's your idol? Like my father. Like who's someone you look up to? Oh, my grandfather or my mom or something like that. Like, nah, bro, like I look up to my best friend.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because like he might not have
He
had it all.
lifted everybody up, bro.
Yeah, like he might not have had it all, but he was someone who I hope that I could genuinely be as good as.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I completely agree. And I love that this was like the perfect subject.
Mhm.
I felt like to blend together with Santi being mentioned, because I know he was really big on self-love
Yeah.
and lifting other people up. And like you said, if you're not happy,
Mhm.
everybody else around you that depends on you is not going to be happy.
Mhm.
And when they say that famous old saying, happy wife, happy life, I think it goes with the self-love there too.
Yeah.
If you're not happy, how could you make somebody else happy?
Yeah.
And I feel that's one of the many reasons that people split up, is because of just not being happy. And
Yeah.
I'm not even saying like the finances aren't right or the kids, whatever. It all runs down to how you feel about yourself
Mhm.
and your inner peace and your trauma that you're dealing with. If you can't bandage yourself up and allow yourself to heal, I feel anybody else that you try to bring into your life or try to give off your energy to is just gonna end up being a carbon copy of yourself. Like, I'm bitter about this, so you have to be bitter about it too, kind of thing.
Yeah, like if you're
So
suffering, they have to suffer type thing.
yeah, and then again, it goes back to that toxic cycle of, if you don't like celebrating your birthdays or whatever, your kids are probably gonna follow that same direction.
Yeah.
So there's another coping mechanism, is talking about your experience to somebody about your birthdays, and I kind of feel like that runs into the therapist part of what I was reading to you,
Mhm.
that I didn't want to write down or really talk about, but I feel it's important to have somebody you can confide in.
Yeah.
Like, I feel you and I can always have a conversation about whatever.
Yeah.
That's how I felt about Santi. We could always call one day and just talk about something for hours.
Mhm.
And if you don't have somebody to talk to, you bottle that shit up and it gets worse. It gets worse. And every year that your birthday comes, you're just going to constantly feel that same feeling you've been feeling for the last 25 years of your life.
Mhm.
And a lot of movies kind of touch on that too, like Scrooge is a great example of that. He
Mhm.
hated Christmas and treated everybody like shit. And then what happened? People were showing him his ways, showing him, this is what you said to this person, and this person took their life, whatever it is. And it's something that I feel is always important. I'm not telling everybody who listens to my podcast to go to therapy.
Mhm.
Therapy is not for everybody. But if you have that unbiased voice to talk to listen to,
Hmm.
then it's important for you to be able to talk to that person and let all those feelings that you have bottled up in you and allow yourself to be happy. Like,
Yeah.
allow happiness and peace into your heart. You know what
Hmm.
I mean? And I know for the longest time you yourself struggle talking about a lot of things.
Hmm.
And maybe in like the last I'd probably say like 3 or 4 years, you've gotten really a lot better at talking about what you were going through.
Hmm.
So I guess that kind of goes into my question is, how important do you feel it is to talk about what you're going through?
I think it's probably the most important thing you could do
Yeah.
is next to that, and I feel like the crying or like noticing or like releasing your emotion. I think those two should literally be like top of the list.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So like I think you should acknowledge it, but I don't think that's enough. I think you need to talk about it also, like get it out.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like even like Christina's daughters, they diary. You know what I'm saying? Like if you don't want to talk to us, write it down. You know what I'm saying? Like get it out so you could physically see it or you could physically hear it.
Right.
Because I don't know, I think releasing it, like you could physically feel like the weight kind of getting off you when you talk about something. I've had stuff that I didn't want to talk about. I finally talked about it and I might get emotional,
Yeah.
but it's like, okay, I'm not the only one who knows about this now. I'm not the only one who knows that this is why I feel like this now. You know what I'm saying? So like even Christina, we had that little bit in our relationship where me and her had split up and we're back together. Everything is great and all that stuff for the past, however long we've been back together. But I with her too, like she didn't know that I felt a certain way. And vice versa. There was things that I didn't know. But once we sat down and we acknowledged and all that stuff, like how are you supposed to how is someone supposed to know how you feel?
Right.
Someone how is someone supposed to know, like, okay, if I say this, they're gonna react this way. If I talk about this subject, they're gonna react this way. If I do anything, I don't know how they're gonna like how why are you reacting like that? You have to tell me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I might not be the person for you to tell.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not saying talk to anybody. You got to be comfortable talking to somebody, but I think that is the 100% top of the list thing that you need to do is not bottle it up. You have to talk to somebody.
Yeah. Yeah. And uh just out of curiosity, what are your thoughts on therapy? Like, how do you feel about the idea of therapy?
So I'm like, I don't know. I feel like I have the same pros and cons as most people with therapy. So like I'm actually still looking to get into therapy
Yeah.
currently, but I feel like me, I'm not a very conventional person.
Yeah.
So I feel like a conventional therapist is something that I would do and I want to do, but I feel like I need to genuinely go through people and find someone who I'm like, all right, this person
Absolutely.
I'm comfortable, which I feel like everyone has the same concerns. But I didn't realize that there was like a whole different type of therapy until I found this lady up here who they call herself like the whole office is called like the unconventional therapist. And the whole web page is like, you have depression? Well, come fucking talk to us. Like in word, like you know what I'm saying? Like they're blatantly like, you want to come in here and you just want to yell fuck at the top of your lungs, do it.
Yeah.
Normal people, you want to come in here and just talk and bullshit or whatever, like that's what we want to do. We don't want you to feel like you're in here talking to just someone who's like writing on a pad or just like, asking
Yeah.
you random questions. Like we want you to come in here and have a conversation and then we'll go from there. So like I'm trying to see if there's anybody in that office who has like openings because I even told Christina like that one as soon as I read it and I seen the page I was like that's who I want to go talk to.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So like I feel like that's the biggest thing, but those are really like but I think therapy is a huge thing.
Yeah.
I really do.
Um, when I had my bad experience with therapy when I first came back down to Florida,
I remember that.
um, work had brought in a guy from NAMI, the National Alliance on Mental Health, mental institution or illness. Sorry, and I asked him when the session was over and everybody walked out because I was at that point in my life where I didn't feel comfortable talking about mental health out loud. I didn't
Mhm.
want to the Q&A just looked like an ass or something. And I asked him, like, I just recently experienced openly say a pretty shitty therapist.
Mm,
And, she made me want to give up because she kicked me to the curb, whatever. And I told him, I said, how do I go about looking for another therapist?
mm,
He's like, honestly, the best thing that you can do if you're serious about looking for therapy is, like you mentioned, going through different therapists isn't a bad thing,
mm,
because most of the people that go to therapy don't like the idea of starting over and talking to a new therapist over and over.
yeah.
Like, I have a good friend, Victoria, who does telehealth, which is like, it's like free therapy through her work.
Mm,
So, she goes through therapists because, some of them she might not vibe with, or some of them just isn't as responsive as she'd like to be, or whatever. And I feel, if you can ask the therapist, what they cover and what techniques they use, or, if they prescribe medicine, like, you got to ask the important questions in therapy. Because when people think therapy, like a casual person who thinks therapy, they think, oh, well, if I talk to a therapist, I'm crazy. They're going to give me medicine because I have depression. And there's that misconception of therapy that shit, a lot of people who aren't in therapy have. It's, the unconventional therapist idea, I think, is terrific.
mm,
I wish there was more people like that.
yeah.
I'm grateful. I'm more than grateful for the therapist that I have. I think of the absolute world of her. And every person that I've talked to who has an interest in therapy or is attending therapy, I say to them, like, listen, like, everybody's therapist is not going to be the same.
No.
You're not going to have the same relationship as somebody else is going to have with their therapist.
Mm,
And I think it's important to realize, like, you also have to be willing to put in the work for therapy too,
mm,
and understand that that therapist is an unbiased voice, is there to listen, but is also there to give you suggestions. Like, instead of saying, oh, well, fuck this day because it's a Monday, all right, well, instead of doing that, how about we think of Monday as a new start to the week? This could be a really good week. Monday doesn't have to be a bad day.
yeah.
Like, yeah, we joke around like, fuck, it's the beginning of the week,
Mm,
but you know therapy is all about changing your mind on shit.
yeah.
So I feel when you can find that voice to have listen to you and give you advice or suggestions, you're able to enjoy holidays, celebrate your life, you celebrate another birthday, and realize that maybe therapy is not for you. Maybe just confiding in a grandparent, confiding in a best friend.
Mm.
We can fight it in Santi.
I was gonna say I feel like Santi was my therapist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he was so good at talking to you about things. And what's great? My favorite thing in the world about Santi was, when I started therapy and I started this journey into mental health and everything, he would come to me and ask me about stuff.
Mm,
The exhilarating feeling of having somebody you look up to, I looked up to him too.
yeah.
The exhilarating feeling of somebody coming to you and asking you, okay, I have a friend who's going through XYZ. How do I help them with this? And shit
Mm,
like that. There's so much possibilities when you can start healing. Like,
yeah.
dude, honest to God, seeing the difference between you now and 5 years ago is incredible.
Yeah.
Like, honest to God, like, no bullshit. I think the world of you, and you're one of my best friends. And I couldn't be more happy for the growth that you've done. And that's one of the biggest reasons I wanted to have you on this podcast, because I know you're not like 100% in tune with like mental health stuff like I am,
Mm,
but like the level that you're at is more than enough to openly talk about this shit, because you're one of those guys who bottled that shit up and didn't talk about it forever. And now that you're at that point in your life where you can talk about it, man, like, it's incredible, honestly.
I appreciate it, bro.
Yeah,
Really.
man, of course. So before we get into the second piece of this, how do you celebrate your birthday? Do you party? Do you stay up late? Do you buy a couple 12 packs and go hang out with people? Like,
I will probably never go out on my birthday again because 2 days after my birthday, the whole country shut down. And everyone who went out with me blamed it on my birthday. So I'm never going out on my birthday again. No, honestly, it depends. Like, I just like having something little, like if because my birthday's in March,
Yeah.
it's March 8th, so it's usually kind of crappy out, especially up here. I don't know, usually just go out for dinner. Usually just me, Christina, and the kids. My mom might go. And then usually the weekend before or after, we might just go out to like a restaurant or we'll have a couple friends. But I'm really good friends with some of Christina's cousins and all that stuff. And then Big Mike and Jose. It's pretty much just them, bro. We all just either go out and hit the bar or we'll go to like a restaurant so where we can have kids there, but still grab like a couple beers or something.
Yeah, yeah. I
Um,
mean,
it's pretty simple for me.
I've always found places cool, like Dave and Buster's, where it's an adult arcade, but there's a bar there and kids
Yeah.
can play there too and stuff.
Mhm.
It's cool that we're in a generation of like restaurants and events where kids can do that too. Like obviously, when we were early 20s teenagers, there was a really big influx of people who were having kids.
Yeah.
So coming to 2022 and seeing how a lot of those parents have like kids in their teens or close to their teens now, it's cool that we've gotten to the point of where you can celebrate your life and have your family and or kids with you. It's I just always found that really cool.
Mhm.
um so that kind of brings me into our next part of this podcast, which I entitled "A Tribute to Our Loved Ones." This little segment is going to be very personal, and I wanted to make sure that I had George on here because, as I mentioned earlier, on the 11th, I believe it is right,
Mhm.
August 11th, last year. Unfortunately, we lost our really good friend and brother Santiago. Obviously, we miss him every day, and we wanted to do this part of the podcast for him. So let's start with I think one of the most genuine parts of this podcast is what's your fondest memory with Santi?
Bro, I got so many fond memories of Santi. Uh, I don't know, man. Like I loved all the moments where he would just like message me out of nowhere
Yeah,
to just like acknowledge me. You know what I'm saying? Because like you said, like the difference between me and like 5 years ago and even now, like so like we have friends who I won't I won't name or anything like that, but we have friends who aren't as understanding. We're still close friends and all, but aren't as understanding as like me, you, or and like Santi. So you know what I'm saying? I feel like us three had a different connection than
yeah,
me and everybody else. But I feel like the honestly, like, all right, so my last text with Santi was July 27th of last year. And I had just messaged him. I don't remember what I was going through or anything like that, but I just messaged him because like we would do this all the time. And I was like, yo, I just love you, bro. And he wrote back, he's like, love you, bro. Like, hey, how's everything going? And I was like, it's all right, just dealing with everything. I was like, in life every day, but I'm just saying fuck it and I'm living happy. Because at the time everything was cool and everything. So he goes, oh man, yeah, it could be a damn hassle. Um, what are you doing to focus on yourself and improvement as an individual? And I just wrote back jokingly, I was like, not kill people. So then he goes, bro, he put the laugh face. He goes, bro, dot, dot, dot. Seriously, though, what goals do you have? There's got to be something you dream about, an aspiration you have, maybe something you set a long time ago. So I wrote back, I was like, I'm just trying to have my own truck, man. That's really it. And I was like, eventually buy a house. So he wrote, he was like, dope, grind it out, man. I want to see you succeed and be at peace within your heart. Money comes and goes, plan through and fall apart, but the inner peace is where it's at. I'll be praying for you and the kids, man. Just so you know, I always got your back. And the last thing I said to him in the text was appreciate you forever, my bro. So like I think that's the fondest memory just because actually, no, it's not. The best memory I have of Santi, which the moment that like really will always live with me forever is he was trying to start that little side business with the food.
yeah,
Um and he called me up. He was all excited. He wanted to do it, but he pushed it aside because he didn't have the money to buy the supplies,
yeah,
like the containers and all the little to go cups and on all the shit. So I called up Keish one day. I was like, yo, give me his Amazon cart. Just send me everything in his Amazon cart. So she sent me like the containers, um, the little side dishes, the cups, the little cups to put like salsa, like all this stuff. And then I bought some more. So I think I bought like forks and I bought everything, bro. I bought everything and just surprised him. I sent it to his house, got there the next day. And he called me. He was like, "Yo, I'm so happy, bro. Like, thank you so much. Like, this is huge. I'm gonna start it." And then he started naming like the dishes and all this stuff. But and like I was so happy because like I would have done anything for that man. And he called me about an hour later, and like the tone in his voice was just totally different. He was like, "Bro, listen, I really need to thank you." He's like, "People have you messed up. People think that you're just like you don't care, and people think that you take things a certain way and that you just don't give a fuck." He's like, "But I know you as a different person." He's like, "We've known each other for so long, and I just want to say like I love you. You're my brother." And you know that we've had those conversations before. You know what I'm saying? Like we've always had those heart to hearts and I love you, bro, and like all this other stuff. But I don't know, bro. That one was just like totally different. You know what I'm saying? Like that's probably like my favorite Santi moment.
Yeah,
But like because I made him so happy. You know
right.
what I'm saying? Like I genuinely made him so happy that day. And it was just like it was probably like my favorite moment.
I think my one of my fondest memories with him was I think 2 Christmases ago now. Yeah. It's like one of the first Christmases I actually went over to a friend's house, and actually had a good time. It was like 30 degrees outside,
Mm.
and we were sitting in his back porch playing dominoes. He has his music playing, and I remember Javier saying, he's like, "Bro, what the hell are we listening to?" He's like, "Are you trying to serenade me?" It's like really soft going music, and then Santi like puts on like death metal, and I'm like, "Bro, you listen to this?" He's like, "Oh my god, yeah, I love the drums," and I'm like, you fucking with me right now? Like, this is there's no way. Like, you listen to this kind of music. And he's
Yeah.
like sitting here talking to me about music and everything. And I just remember us sitting out by the fire. We took a couple chairs and sat out in the back with Sage and just sitting there bullshitting for hours, man. Just like 30-degree weather in front of a fire and just talking about everything, man. Like from when I started this journey to now, man, it's just a lot of what I've done was because of his encouragement.
Hmm.
I'm sure I've shared the story with you, but in 2018, I had wrote my suicide note on social media.
Hmm.
Deleted it like 5 minutes later because I'm like, I'm not trying to get that kind of attention. And I didn't want anybody like calling the cops and getting locked up. I still had that mentality of
Hmm.
the Baker acting bullshit. And I remember him reaching out to me on Facebook Messenger. He's like, "Hey, bro, like I saw your post and I saw that you took it down, and I just want to make sure that you're okay." Like, this is the first time I heard from Santi since high school. Like, I wasn't close with him like you guys. Like, I didn't start getting close with him until 2018, and that conversation him and I had absolutely saved my life. Like,
Hmm.
he reached his hand out selflessly and helped me get to the point of realization like I can't live like this anymore. I
Hmm.
need to take care of myself. And I sought out therapy, had a good 3 months with that therapist up there, and she was incredible. And I came back down to Florida, and then him and I just instantly had like a terrific friendship. Like I gained a brother uh that year.
Hmm.
And just like fast forward a couple of years, and I remember him making a Facebook Live about us, him and Sage and I, and him like shouting out saying, "Oh, Chris just started the crisis hotline and everything, and doing all this mental health stuff." And it's just like, I just want to say how incredible it is to see you grow and get where you're at right now. And he was like one of the first people in that mental health group, and always, always, always pushing for me for my healing, and forever grateful for him, man. Like, just like you said, there's in the short time that I was close with him, I had more than enough uh great memories with him,
Hmm.
and obviously, like everybody else, I wish I had more, but I genuinely think he is the greatest human being I've ever met in my life.
I would 100% agree. And like I feel like that's not just being like biased because that was like my brother. Like he genuinely was like he was too good. He was
Yeah,
too good for like any of us.
yeah,
is like the best way to put it.
Right.
And he would like joke because I used to tell him that, but bro, you too good for us, bro. And he's like, man, stop, bro. Like, stop, man. We're just boys. We're just boys. And like, I don't know, bro. Like, I just that was like true. Like, everybody has like a close friend, and everybody has like that close like, the best friend or like whatever. But I don't think a lot of people have like a him.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't think a lot of
Um,
people have that.
so that kind of transitions to the next question I had. For our listeners out there, and obviously for the family members of ours who may listen to this podcast, explain your relationship you have with Santi in the best way you can.
Mine was see, mine was different than a lot because we have the close friends. It was me, Javi, Farnham, Zach. For a while, Edwin was there. Like we all came up in like hanging out in Vets Village, like doing all the dumb stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like I knew Santi before he was who he was now. You know what I'm saying? So like Santi would be like, you know what I'm saying? Like we did all the dumb stuff.
Yeah.
Like we would be the sneaking out, going to smoke and do this and go to the mall with like, we did all that. And then, there was like that 6 month period, 8 month period where he just kind of dipped and disappeared. And that was when we all had all found out that he had gotten sick with oh shit, I don't remember what it was called, but that disease that he had.
Yeah.
Um, but then that's also when he had started going to church and all that. So he genuinely like if he would try to like we would like send him like videos and all that stuff online, he'd be like, I don't want to see that. So like some people would get upset and be like, well, why doesn't want to see that? Why's he doing that? But like I understand, like, all right, man, you do your thing. So like at first, like there would be like a 2-3 month period, like we wouldn't talk, not because we didn't anything like that, but because he was trying to change himself, and I was still doing me. But my like the relationship that I had with him was just like I feel like I was always portrayed a certain way.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I think as I got to that like age of like really trying to make sure everyone liked me and all this shit, I think I really gave into it. You know what I'm saying? But he always, it didn't matter what I did, what I said, what I was going through, who I was like, nothing. He was always there. You know what I'm saying? Like he didn't care about anything. He genuinely treated me like I was his brother. Like it doesn't matter what you're going through. I'm gonna tell you if you're wrong, but you're my brother. I love you and I'm gonna support you. Like he would always tell me that. Like, bro, I'm gonna tell you if you're wrong. Like you fucked up here. You know what I'm saying? So like my relate like I respected that man above like I put him on like the highest of pedestals because like I respected that man more than anything. And I
Yeah.
think I don't know, man. It's just my relationship with him was like it was just crazy.
Yeah. Like you said, it's we put him high up there because there was nobody in the world like him. Nobody.
Mm.
And I think he was the ideal human being. He was the ideal father. He was the ideal friend, brother, and he did so much for all of us. And, I know how hard it is just thinking about him. And I know this part would have been the hardest part of this podcast. And that's why I wanted to do it with you, because I know it's very raw.
Yeah.
And obviously you're gonna feel. And like I said, I appreciate you being willing to talk about this because I know it's hard, man. And the best thing that I could say is he lives all within us in some way or another, and he loved us all,
Yeah.
you know. Um, Kind of going into the self love advice that he gave you. Would you say that was the best piece of advice that he gave you?
Yeah, because he always pushed to like he first of all he always checked on you,
Yeah.
and that was a huge thing. But like I say it all the time, like I don't understand how someone who was our age was like so knowledgeable and
Yeah.
so just in tune and in touch with like life and what's going on and like what's going on around you.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's probably like the biggest advice with like that's why I don't erase none of that.
Yeah.
And like that's the oldest text messages I have on my phone. And I'll never get rid of them.
Yeah.
So like I look back at that. I look back at the messages. Like I still have all our messages on in Messenger from like high school.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like I look back at like I do all the time, bro. I look back at the growth, I look back at the videos, like all this stuff. I feel like the best advice he ever gave me was that in that last message, just keep going and work on yourself. I want to see you succeed and just all that. I
Yeah.
just
And like I said, and he did a really good job at lifting us up, and making sure that we stayed up,
yeah, no problem
and
telling you you're wrong. Yeah,
my favorite thing was him calling people out on their bullshit all the
I
time.
loved it, bro.
He was such a savage.
I would look at him sometimes and be like, damn, bro. He'd be like, I love you, bro.
But so that kind of leads me into the final question of this segment for you. How have you coped since we lost Santi? Like, do you do certain things for him, like time to time, like on his birthday? Did you do anything for him, or like listen to a certain song that reminds you of him? Like, I know grieving is obviously, it looks different for absolutely everybody.
I think like all of us, I just go through the waves all the time.
Yeah.
Like um I could be good and then like a memory pops up. Cause like, bro, I'm not even exaggerating. Every at least 4 times a week on like, Facebook has the memories. It says like you have memories with Santiago. And it's because like I tagged him in something or like I had a lot of comments with him. But like I always am reminded or seeing him, whether it be like a memory on Facebook or like a video on like a memory on Snapchat or like we're in the group talking to each other or something like that. Um, I just I don't know, man. Like grieving with him is like is different though
Yeah. Yeah.
because like I don't want people who are listening to this or I know you won't take it the wrong way. But I don't want people to take this the wrong way. But like you and me, like we've lost family. I've
Yeah.
lost family. I've lost friends. I've seen people pass away young, and don't get me wrong, like the two biggest people I lost in my life are Santi and my grandmother. And I compare the two, but they're separate.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because like, all right, my grandmother was blood family.
Right.
I loved her to death. She was literally like the rock of my family. So like when she passed, like it just my family just became shambles. But when we lost Santi, it's just like family's different because they're family. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying, but like me and Santi chose to be family.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
That was like when people say like blood is blood, but like you have the family that you choose to be your family.
Hmm.
Like me, you, him, we chose to be a brothers.
Yeah.
We had such a good connection that we chose to be brothers. Like, all right, when he passed, it was like it was probably the hardest.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because like it's that is who I wanted in my life.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like I he's the godfather to my sons.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like he was supposed to be the best man at my wedding. You know what I'm saying? Like and then you look back at that and like I think about that sometimes and that gets me really upset is because like like it's like I'm being selfish
Right.
because like I wanted you here for this.
Yeah.
Like I
I don't
like
think it's selfish at all.
yeah, but like I don't want people to think like I or anything like that, but like I wanted that more time with you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like
Absolutely.
regardless of everything that we have going on and everybody else that's in my life, like I wanted that more time with you. And the funniest thing is like I think it was a couple days actually. Actually, let me look on my Instagram to get the date real quick. But I had posted a picture on my Instagram. Um, it was August 6th. So the
Yeah.
last day I actually spoke to Santi was August 7th. August 6th, I posted a picture on my Instagram. I have the Cowboys jersey on, and I turned. I don't know, the angle of my picture made me look bigger than I am, right? But at that time, I'd actually put on a little bit of weight.
Yeah.
So he calls me, and it was like 10 o'clock at night, and I'm like, why the hell is he calling me right now? Like he should be asleep. So I call, I answer. I'm like, first thing I say is, I'm like, bro, what the fuck are you doing awake right now? And he just goes, I know, I need to go to sleep. But bro, like, yo, you putting weight on, man? You look good in that picture, dude. And I'm like, yeah, actually, I did put on some weight, bro. Like, yeah, I did put on some weight. And he goes, man, you look good, bro. He's like, yo, how's everything going, man? Like, I haven't talked to you in like a week. I'm like, yo, everything's good, bro. Like, but like, it was just so funny that he had called me. And I'm like, at first I was like, damn, like I was laying down in bed. I was like, yeah, like, all right, let me answer it. So I said it. And then he's like, yo, I'm gonna call you this week. I'm gonna call you this week. Like, we'll catch up. I'm like, all right. And then unfortunately,
Yeah.
it didn't get to happen. But I don't know. It's just like, I think about all this stuff, man, like what we went through, what we were supposed to do, you know, like the future plans. And, you know, it just, you smile some days,
Yeah.
some
Of course.
moments, and then other times it's just like,
It's hard, man. It's hard.
it's not okay.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think, like you said, when you compared it with losing your grandmother, I have never in my entire adult life cried that hard.
Yeah.
And like you said, we chose to be family.
Mm.
Every time I talk to somebody who's not in our circle, and we're like, "Oh yeah, you lost your friend, right?" I'm like, "He wasn't a friend. He was a brother to me." Like, I don't mean like we were born from the same parents. Like, he was my brother. Like you said, we created that bond with each other, and there was so much between you, him, and I, just like mentally and emotionally, that we invested in, that we shared between us.
Mm.
And when you called me that day, like my brain took like 2 seconds. And I remember Sage coming over. Bro, I've never in my life crumbled so hard
Mm.
until Sage got there. Like, Sage was like passing my house when he got the news, or I think he was coming off 54, or something happened. I don't remember how he found out. It might have been you called him or something. And I remember seeing a light in front of my house. And when I saw him, bro, I was just uncontrollable,
Mm.
And when I think about him and I think about the kind of life he lived and all the lessons that we learned from each other and I learned from him, yeah, I'm sad. Yeah, I have a giant uh, hole in my heart because he's not here.
Mm.
But the most important part is the time that I shared with him was some of the best times in my life.
Mm.
And he has encouraged and inspired me that whole time that him and I were good friends. And I don't think, let me rephrase this. I know he would want us to keep going forward because that's what he did.
Mm.
He saw us sad. He would be one of the first ones to call.
Mm.
He saw you pissed off about something. He'd be the first one to call. And he would always be like, "Hey, bro!" Like, I can always hear that voice. "Hey, bro!" You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And just always had a way to word things for you. Like, I remember going to my grandmother's boyfriend's funeral, and I was sad because the second person my grandma's lost that she was with. The
Mm.
first one was my grandfather, obviously. And I remember calling him and just sitting in the car, us talking for like an hour. And my dad walked into the room behind us. And you just hear him like huffing and puffing from just like walking from the parking lot to the chair behind me. And I remember calling Santi just uncontrollably crying, saying like, I don't want to lose my dad. Like he just doesn't sound good and shit, and been smoking his whole life, whatever. He helped me grieve uh other people, when I lost Amy, he was one of the very first people. You and him actually were the very first people to like make sure I was okay.
Mm-hmm.
Because losing her fucking sucked. But when Santi went, man, like you said, it's hard to put in words how much he meant to us
Mm-hmm.
and the impact he had. But at the same time, we can express that he was an essential part of our life and we wanted more time with him, but the time we were given, he gave us so much
Yeah.
and made us the people that we are today. Like, I credit him to a lot of my journey right now, like the mental health group, man. Like I look back in some of the comments he made and they're on some of my posts. It's like, man, he's like, I don't know if you go back and read some of this stuff, bro, like, but it's insane like how far you've come. And when you're healing and you're going through the journey you're going through, it's hard to acknowledge progress, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to acknowledge how much better off we're doing than we were 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
But when you have somebody like Santi who just always, always, always acknowledged everything that we did, it was an exhilarating feeling because he was just so damn good at wording everything to us.
Yeah, bro. Yeah, he was one of the craziest things too is like every single one of our people in our group have a different personality.
Yeah,
Like genuinely, every single person has a different personality, but he was always the one that he tolerated everybody.
he grounded every
He
one of
knew how to
us.
deal with everybody.
Right.
So like it could easily be like a Farnham,
Yeah.
and then a hobby, and then a me. Those that first of all, those three personalities together are like
Completely different.
are just it could either be hilarious or disaster. Like there's
Yeah,
really no
yeah.
in the middle. You know what I'm saying? And then but then you throw him in the mix and everything is
Flows.
just flows.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So like bro, he was just like he really was. I mean, look at the group chat that we're in.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's genuinely like it it's just
He always
even
he always
even
had.
now, bro, even not being here, he just has like such an impact on you, bro.
Yeah.
Like
Like I was saying in the chat yesterday or the day before about Nico. I
mhm,
said, bro, like every conversation I remember listening to, like Nico, you just saw like how much he thought of Santi.
yeah,
Like Santi always had the best advice.
yeah.
And he was always so outlandish with everything he said. But everything he said made sense. Like I remember the day he posted a picture of him in the pink shirt and you guys clowned him for like a whole
I
whole
think
week.
it looked like a bottle of Pepto Bismol walking because he had blue shorts on too.
Right, right.
No, I loved it though. That was all of our thing, bro. Like that's why I can't not let that live on. You know what I'm saying? So that's why
Yeah.
like, in the group chat, like I go with Brandon all the time. Like Brandon cries when he pulls apart mozzarella cheese. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like I have to keep it going, bro. Just because
Yeah.
that's how we all were, and that's how it just has to go, bro. Like it just you know what I'm saying? Like you have to let
That
him.
legacy, man, like we talked about
Yeah,
earlier.
you have to. And like just like Steph said, like she wanted us to write the letters to the kids. Like I haven't forgot about it. Like I just I gotta make sure. Like I want to print out pictures,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying, of me and him and just him that I have. Like when I flew him out here, me and Javier, he had just gone through the separation from his first marriage. And, he was going through some stuff, bro. Like he was upset and all that stuff. And a couple months prior to that, Javier had never been up here.
Yeah.
I was like, Javi, come up here, bro. Like spend the weekends. Javi came up. And then a couple months after that, I was sitting there talking to him. I was like, yo, let's split a ticket. Me and you will fly Santi up. Santi's like, bro, I don't have the money. I was like, yo, well, we already booked it. We booked the flight. You're gonna like, I don't care if they give you off, you're telling them, okay, I can't work these days. And don't worry about nothing. I got you the whole time you're up here. So like he came up. I don't know. I don't know how much money he brought. He didn't bring much. Bro, me and Javi covered him, bro.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But that made him so happy, bro. And I remember like sitting in the backyard that like the day before he was supposed to take off to his flight. And we all just sat back there. We had like beers, we were sitting by the fire and stuff. And like, I remember him joking because I don't think he'd ever been on like an airplane or something like that, and he was like telling me like when it took off and how he was laughing. He was like, "Bro, I was gripping the chair, but I couldn't help but laugh." He's like, "So I just started laughing nervously."
And I can hear that laugh in my head too.
And I remember like I took him to Chinatown in New York, and like we got authentic, like legitimate authentic Chinese food. And Javier got his plate, and he's like, "This isn't what I ordered." And I'm like, Javier's like, "It's just authentic, bro. You better eat that food." Like it was just so funny, bro. Like he's just like showing him like the buildings and like walking around Philly, and like we went hatchet throwing. You know what I'm saying? Like that's the stuff. Like I remember like one of the when we were younger, not to venture and go off like into all this things,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
like,
yeah.
we were younger and me, him, and Edwin were like wrestling in his front yard. And I'm a little guy compared to him and Edwin, bro. Like I'm skinny. And Santi like put me on his shoulder and he just used his body weight and he just like launched. And instead of like I was on his shoulder, so like instead of me like he flew me into the ground. And I just remember laying there and I was like, ow. And like instead of checking on me, him and Edwin just come running over and look at me and just like just start dying laughing, bro. I'm in pain. I'm on the ground. I like can't
Oh
breathe.
my god.
But that was like there are the funniest things when Sage got stuck on my roof and wouldn't jump off and started
Right.
hyperventilating, and me and him are just dying laughing on like the floor, like the things that like we should be helping each other with, and we just start laughing at each other. Bro. It's just I don't know when Zach got knocked out by Marco on accident, and we like everyone ran over and they were like, "You okay?" Ah! And just start like yourselves laughing, bro. Like it's just you know what I'm saying. Like those memories are the memories like I love, bro. It's just like I'm forever grateful that I had those memories and I have those stories and I could tell my kids and all this stuff, you know. And but just being upset that I'm never gonna have them again or
Yeah,
more, you know.
yeah, of course.
So I don't know. I think it's just everyone in our group's going through the same thing, just a little bit different.
Yeah, like I said, everybody grieves differently. Some people, kind of like become numb to loss and be like, wow, like I've lost like 27 people in the last 6 months, and it's one after the other kind of mentality,
Mhm.
right? And then there's people like you and I who, you know, I don't want to say some losses are more significant than others, but like
I know what you mean.
we make those memories like live on,
Right.
like opposed to like losing a 107-year-old cousin or something that you don't have that many memories with. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
stuff like that. But everybody grieves differently, and I don't want anybody who's listening to today's episode to let anybody tell you that you have a time limit on grieving,
No, you don't.
because
Mm,
it doesn't become easier with time. I think that's the biggest lie ever
yeah.
told.
One
Time
of the
does not heal wounds.
one of the biggest things with that is my uncle got murdered before I was born. He got murdered in like '86 or something like that. And my mom and my grandfather every year on like his birthday and like the anniversary of his death and all that stuff is just like it's bad.
Yeah,
Like it's very emotional.
right.
So I think that's like the biggest bullshit thing ever.
Yeah,
There's
and
not.
I think the most important part to whoever you lose
Mm,
is keeping that memory alive any way you can. Like you said, I don't delete messages either,
mm,
and him and I were very close. And the best thing you could do is just keep that memory alive, appreciate each other. And I posted a TikTok a couple days ago about birthdays. I know for some people who are listening, birthdays are kind of like a taboo thing in your mind. It's hard to celebrate. It's hard to enjoy getting older, but try looking at birthdays as another year to celebrate, another year to restart, to reset.
mm,
You're not promised tomorrow.
no,
And I think this podcast is a testament to that. It's very sudden, unexpected.
mm,
Love each other, but most importantly, love yourself. And um, as we come to the end of this podcast, I wanted to read a quote for it's a self-love quote, but it also goes towards birthdays, and it is by Charlie Chaplin, surprisingly. As I began to love myself, I freed myself of anything that is no good for my health: food, people, things, situations, and everything that drew me down and away from myself. At first, I called this attitude, a healthy egoism. I thought that was one of the most profound things I've ever read, because when you think Charlie Chaplin, it's like, oh yeah, that guy's comedy.
Mhm.
That silent comedy. But a lot of those guys in the comedy business are so damn emotionally in tune, and the things that they were going through. It was just really something I wanted to read, because I think self love is the most important thing to get out of this podcast, is just loving yourself and taking care of each other.
Yeah. You
Um,
mind if I say something real quick?
yeah, absolutely.
I just wanted to give a shout out to everyone who is listening to this that is in our group. Um, I think another thing that makes it easier for me at least knowing, that he's not here is that the last about year of his life is that probably the happiest he's ever been.
Absolutely.
So it's a huge shout out to Keisha for keeping my brother happy and making him as happy, and just know that, we're here for you. We love you just as much as him. So you're a part of the family. A huge shout out to, our other brothers, Sage, Javier, Farnham, Zach. You guys were there from the beginning with me. And, you guys are my brother also. So I just want, everyone who might be listening to this or is going to listen to this, it's not just about me and him, me and Chris. This is about all of you. And we all know that you guys all had a special relationship with our brother as well. But, I just want, especially Keisha, to know, like, we are here. And thank you and thank everybody for being there and just making sure that we were all okay, and that my brother's life was, or our brother's life, for the last, year of his life was the happiest that he's ever been.
Absolutely, man. Well said. Um, and again, I just want to say thank you. Thank you so much for doing this podcast. I know the second half was a little emotional, and I'm really glad that I was able to get you on here and do it. And of course, sir, the 1 year is coming up, and just want to let you know, if you need anything that day, I'm here. And for anybody listening, I just want to say I appreciate all of you for the support. This podcast is starting to branch out more internationally, and for anybody who's listening, I just want to let you know, you don't have to grieve alone. You don't have to go through any of this stuff alone. And the most important part is be there for each other, love yourself, and most importantly, be gentle with yourselves. And thank you all so much for listening. Until next time, be well.